Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jill Ellis with iResponds, and I am joined by Rose Mentry. We are right under a minute of our start time, but we thought we would go ahead and let you know that we're here. We see quite a few people are already online, on hold, ready to go, and there are several still registering. See a lot of familiar names, clients, and some industry colleagues. So welcome to all of you today. We're very excited to kind of talk through some analysis and summaries that Rose has put together on STR forecast. You know, again, this information is public information. It's just kind of our take on this and some other studies, and really looking at kind of guest review impact on hotel recovery. There's so many aspects to this, and this is just one of those. While we have a couple of minutes, and those of you that are on the line, I did want to mention that we highly encourage comments, questions, of course, if anything's going on with technology, which is always a potential these days, just type that in. There's a section on your control panel that says questions, and we're going to continue to kind of monitor that throughout. Now, we will save that for the end just to ensure that we stick with our allotted time. Also, please know that this is being recorded so that if you miss a portion of it, we'll be sure to share that recording once we get through the second session of the same webinar, which is taking place on Tuesday. So that, please don't worry about that particular piece of it. And I do also want to take a minute to shout out, I have a couple of my teammates on the phone here, and I had mentioned Rose Mentry, our Chief Innovation Officer, has spent a lot of time researching and summarizing this, but there's other team members that have contributed. We have Sam, who is our amazingly talented graphic designer, social media guru, who's poured a lot into this, and Carolyn Rand is our brand leader, who really takes a fine-tooth comb over this, ensuring that we're communicating clearly. So it certainly takes a team effort, and I'm just fortunate to be able to represent their hard work here today. So Rose, based on my watch, it looks like we're at start time, so let's get moving forward here. I know there's still a few people that are logging in, but we want to be respectful of time. So if you've just joined, my name is Jill Ellis. Again, I work for iResponds. I have the pleasure of being over client success. I have 25 plus years in this industry, love it, have made a career, has provided for my family. I've been able to travel and learn from some of the greatest minds in the world. Speaking of that, I have Rose Mentry here, who is our Chief Innovation Officer for iResponds, really at the helm of this company. She has 40 plus years of hotel industry experience and just a lot of passion behind this. And of course, we've got an amazing team behind the scenes. So for our time together today, we're going to I have a little agenda here just to kind of keep us on track, but we'll do a very quick about iResponds, just because we're working in a virtual world, and why would we care about this information? We'll look at COVID on a global challenge and kind of the recovery indicators. They're very important to all of us. We'll take a deeper dive into understanding segment recovery. We'll look at the OTA's role in recovery. And then we always like to throw in if there's something new that we're seeing with OTAs or social media. And because you're going to see a lot of data and information coming your way, we always like to close with just some key takeaways so we can summarize some of the key points. And if you have just joined as well, I had mentioned to the group that was on here that we encourage Q&A. It can be commentary, you want to add to something, you have a question about something. If you'll type that in the questions section, we'll wait to the end just to be respectful of time in case we run over, but this is being recorded. So a little bit about who we are. We're a service provider in the hotel industry. We were created by hoteliers for hoteliers. And the one takeaway I would want you to know is that we're really a team that has a heart to serve this hotel industry. And the way in which we serve the industry really falls into three kind of major categories of the types of services we offer. So we started out by monitoring, responding to guest reviews and surveys. We work alongside the teams, ensuring all of that communication is being handled in an authentic way. That's very important to us. We also help many of our clients with that proactive posting to social media. So putting together a strategy, specifically Facebook and Instagram are a huge audience for hotels, and help really get some activity in that level for properties. And then an up and coming space has been direct messages. So within your social media platforms and even some of the OTA platforms, as you well know, you're getting bombarded with questions coming in that direction. So we've really pulled that together with both of these other services we offer and have seen kind of an unreal increase in that. So really our services, are very proud to work with every major branded hotel company and our independent properties, which we love equally as well. We have a little over 1,000 clients globally that we're serving, and that's hotels, and there are some restaurants mixed in with that, mostly because of the full service properties that have restaurants that are marketed separately. And so that kind of concludes talking a bit about us. And next, I'm going to bring Rose in to kind of let us start diving into the content.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar today. So we are going to start off with review challenges of COVID and what it continues to bring for our industry. In order to understand how the vaccines will be affecting travel, let's look at OTAs Insight's latest analysis. So after November 9th, around the time the drug makers made their vaccine findings public, flight searches to 4 major cities shot up nearly by 30%, and that kind of happened immediately. Based on the number of people researching trips, vaccine availability really has been the most promising sign thus far that travel may soon return somewhat back to normal. With historical data rendered nearly useless in revenue management, we must rely more and more on top of funnel data sets and find ways to target travelers earlier in their booking journey than we ever did before in the past. So they stated that if hoteliers know exactly how many travelers are flying into their market during a particular week or weekend, they can benchmark booking performance against their competitors way ahead of the curve, ensuring that they're getting their fair share of the business. So that is becoming more and more important in this environment. Due to the latest worsened pandemic metrics, unfortunately, and assumptions of limited early year travel, led STR and Tourism Economics to slightly downgrade their latest US hotel forecast that they came out with in the fall of 2020. So in this graph, STR included 2020 actuals versus 2021 and 2022 in comparison. I did also include a year-over-year change that you see in the pink to really understand, okay, what does this 2021 forecast mean in comparison to 2019, because 2020 obviously is not really a benchmark that we hold as normal. So demand and ADR will be down by 17% in each segment in 2019, but improvement overall in comparison to, again, 2020. Please know that there are 2 supply rows on these charts. So they have one that says supply total room inventory, and the other one is just supply without the asterisks. So the number 2 supply row, the first one reflects percentage change based on all the hotels that are still closed, and the second one reflects with no hotel closures. So they're forecasting that year-end 2021 and 2020 2022 will be inching up slower than the demand and occupancy levels. So here's a look at the demand, ADR and RevPAR index growth from 2019 through 2023. They reported that the industry will recapture 76% of the demand in comparison to 2019 by year-end 2021. However, RevPAR will be down by 39.3% in comparison to 2019 levels due to ADR's slower recovery timeline, and we saw in the previous slide as well. And the ADR growth trend will continue through 2023, where even though demand will be back at 100%, RevPAR will still be down by 11% with projected, hopefully, full recovery by 2024. So let's take a deeper, let's understand what STAR means with the 2 of the demands that we were just talking about. So looking deeper into this, hotel closures that they're talking about, and we looked at Calibri Labs, they reported we still have 5.1% of the hotels in the US closed as of January, which equals to 1,882 hotels. Now, when you look at the numbers, though, majority of these hotels are independent categories. So those are smaller hotels, mom and pops. And when looking at the room inventory, luxury category is leading the way. And in second place is the upper upscale category hotels that are still remaining closed. Per STR president, Amanda, she stated that hotel demand will improve as vaccine distribution becomes widespread. We expect Q3 to be the point where leisure travel shifts into high gear and corporate and group business show more progressive improvements. And just another note, when STAR looks at this, a hotel deemed closed is when it shows up no inventory for sale on its own website, nor on a major online travel agency site, and the hotel is also reporting no rooms occupied and no room revenue. So that's how they identify which hotels are still closed. So next, let's look at a market segment performance in 2020 versus 2019 and the forecast for 2021 through 2023. So this is diving a little bit deeper. For this information, we again looked at Calibri Labs and what they reported with CBRE. So above the red line of the graph, you see that 2019 and 2020 actuals, and below are the forecasted numbers by segment through the year 2023. Rack and bar is in deep blue, corporate transient in pink, group in orange, promo is in purple, and OTAs is represented in light blue. It is clear to see that the corporate transient, which is in pink, and group segments, when you look at it year over year, from 2019 in comparison numbers, they're growing the slowest in pace versus rack, promo, and OTAs in revenues. And seems this trend is going to continue through 2023. And it's also notable that when you look at the corporate and group segments, even at the end of 2023, they're not even at half of what it was in 2019. It is also noteworthy that the OTAs in light blue is going to be playing a big role in recovery with their projected year-over-year revenue growth through the year of 2023. So for hotels that do rely on corporate transient and group segments, it is going to be imperative to replace them, this lost revenue, with other sources. So having said that, let's look at the group segment a little deeper. So here's a study result from Focusrite Travel Research that they completed in January of 2021 this year. And they stated that 9 in 10 travelers are willing to attend meetings and events, even if the threat of COVID-19 hasn't been resolved whatsoever. 23% plan to cut back travel to only attend essential meetings or events. And nearly 3/4 of travelers expect that their companies will allow select business travel as opportunities returns. And 3 in 4 travelers feel comfortable traveling for US meetings and events, but far fewer are content to cross international borders. So it is evident that if the decision were only up to the individual travelers for meetings, the outlook for the industry's return back to normal would be so much quicker. So let's look at what STAR's recovery phase looks like, which is on the right hand of the screen. And here is what we can expect in meetings and events bookings. So firstly, they did report that group and meetings related travel surpassed 6 million monthly travelers in January and February of 2020. And then obviously March it went down a lot lower. April, May, June, there really wasn't anything. And by August, it actually reached back up to only 1 million through October. And they look at that as the initial recovery phase for meetings and events coming back. And then they feel for 2021, growth will be seen in small and medium-sized events starting in Q2 and will continue to grow from there forward. And they predict that by the year end 2021, group will be at a growth of 10% year over year, but it's still going to be down by 75% in comparison to 2019 levels, which we kind of saw in earlier graphs in revenues as well. And they feel that the final phase of recovery will be seen in large group and meeting related travel beginning Q3 this year, and it will continue to grow throughout 2022. So again, another segment that it was really trending behind and will continue to trend behind is the corporate transient segment. And AHLA commissioned National Business Travel to do a survey in January of this year of business travelers to really get an understanding of what will affect the recovery of the segment. So they found out that nearly 9 in 10 business travelers, 87%, said their employer had put at least some restrictions on employee travel. So here's what that looks like. 37% has halted all business travel completely. 34% has reduced business travel for all employees. 16% reduced business travel for some of their employees, and 13% is continuing travel at the same pace as in the past without any reductions pre-pandemic. But again, looking at these numbers, all is not lost, because they're also reporting that of that 37% that has halted all business travel, 21% of them are expected to resume to the pre-pandemic levels by first half of 2021 this year. 26% are saying in Q3 they're going to resume, and 16% in Q4. And only 29%, remember again, of that 37%, feels sometime after 2021 they will go ahead and have their employees travel for corporate business. So employers are going to be playing an important role. They are playing it right now and will continue to play a big role in helping to revive business travel, whether it is for meetings and events or for individual business. Predictions are that it will happen quickly, though, once the vaccine distribution nationally is complete and readily available for all to get, and which will guarantee safe travel for their associates. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Jill to cover the OTA's role in returning back to our normal. Jill?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rose. I see that we've had several people join since we started, and I wanted to remind everyone, if you want to type in comments or questions, there's a section to handle that, and we'll be answering those and reading those at the end. So what we're going to look at here is kind of going back, as we've heard in earlier slides, that OTAs are going to continue to play a big role for hotels' recovery process. So we wanted to revisit an Expedia Group's latest Trends and Insights study. We actually shared this in one of our previous webinars. All of those are available on the website. But we wanted to highlight a few things today, just in the context of this conversation. So 57% of travelers are going to be more likely to book via an OTA than before the pandemic. That is a huge shift. This is most pronounced we're seeing among millennials and Gen X. These two groups have the highest overall intent to travel. In addition, the tides have changed. Once again, 69% of the people are looking for the best nightly rate again. 56% of domestic travelers that use an OTA in the research and planning phase are likely to also book. So there's been some trends there where they've used it for looking and not necessarily booking, but we're seeing some of that based on the information in the study. And 61% of travelers use OTA to plan or research at least one aspect of their trip. It could be the hotels, flights, car rentals, activities, and more. So again, hotels are now playing a critical role in the overall hotel purchase path, as 35% of travelers want to be able to compare property choices, and they want to see it in a one source kind of view. And to kind of better understand how and with whom guests are communicating their stay experiences, we looked at a study that was Zendex.com. This was completed around late last year, and so here's just some kind of highlights of the findings. So 74% of overall bad experiences, and for 76% of overall good experiences, they were most frequently shared in person to friends and family, so word of mouth. It's worthy to note that these most important aspects of their ratings was really based on customer service. And as we know in this industry, that's an easier fix for hotels than any other segment. So word of mouth marketing travels far. It was especially common to share experiences online after a negative run-in with customer service. So again, the tendency to share that negativity out on social media. Guests communicated bad experiences through social media more often than their good experience. So that's about a 49% for bad versus about 38% for good on social media. That trend was very similar to your online reviews. So 46% for bad, 27% for good. So for the hotel success and recovery, it's imperative that the general manager or the appropriate team manager does respond back specifically for negative reviews, as these get shared a lot more often than positive experience. This will help your future guests in understanding that you and your team are on top of everything that is happening real time, and that it'll give them the confidence that negative comments are receiving the attention. No one expects to read perfect reviews all the time, but how you handle it means everything, and that has not changed. In fact, as we know, COVID-19 has refined our behavior in every way. My gosh, that's an understatement. But this presents an opportunity. There's always opportunity in that, and kind of re-examining our own behaviors and resetting our own strategies to appeal to travelers. So to help the industry understand these emerging leisure and business travel trends and what we're going to call the next normal, Expedia Group finished their study. They've shared some influences shaping travel preferences. Understanding this new behavior is only going to help you in shifting your strategies to meet evolving traveler needs, and you want to support hotels as they re-image travel policies. So again, kind of having that voice and understanding what's happening with that. So no surprise, room cleanliness and overall condition matter the most. It has risen to the top for different reasons, but it's critical that that piece is paying attention to that particular piece. Reputation and hotel communication. So 80% of travelers believe if hotels do not respond to negative reviews, then the review must be truthful. So if you're not responding, that's kind of a sign of you're avoiding it and it must be true. By responding, you're signaling to those future travelers that you do listen to your guest concern and that it is being addressed. So again, kind of that peace of mind. I just saw a quote today that peace of mind is the new luxury, and that is the truth. Transport guests, great photos, so important. Guests are looking at least 9 photos before deciding to stay at a property. They'd really like to see more. So hotel teams, you have a great opportunity to capture what's unique about this property. Inspire the guests, let them know what's going on, what type of journey that they're going to have staying at your property. And continue to communicate. Communication is so key. 70% of travelers want to receive information on amenities prior to check-in. So that anxiety of what is going to happen when you get there is higher than it's ever been. So the more you can communicate, the better. And then, of course, stand out from the rest. More than 8 in 10 travelers in the survey said that hotels in similar price ranges look the same online, and that they must do something to stand out. So this feedback really crossed generational lines. Properties have an opportunity to do more to make their value proposition and even your unique amenities stand out. And I know that there's been a lot of creative work behind this. I know that most of the properties are leaning into this and just, continue to promote that. Communicating and talking about that is so important. So lastly, I mentioned that we're going to share, we always like to look for what's something new from our last webinar that might be on the horizon. And so the new thing that we've identified most recently is Tripadvisor has introduced a new tool. They've been working with Slack, Amazon Web Services, and there's 9 other technology companies involved in this, and they're developing a new software to help individuals identify areas that are less crowded, and this would be in cities around the United States. In doing so, they have produced what they're calling Crowd-Free Me. It's an app, and again, it's giving individuals the power to really check in and see what's going on in a COVID high-risk area. So it's intended to help consumers avoid crowds at both businesses and public places. It could be parks, beaches. The system is using data that's coming from cell phone location pings. Of course, this has to be information that they have permission to do, and it's anonymous. And the information is going to display on a map, and it's graphed based on the time of the day of the week. It's updated once a day. More recent data is going to get a higher rating than older data, so it's going to rise up. And we just think this is going to be interesting to watch because we want to see how this is going to influence the travel decision of individuals. Not necessarily your past guest travel experience rating, but the current high risk status. So is this going to cause an increase in last minute cancellations for individuals if they feel like it's unsafe in your area? So in turn, this will make it even more important to talk about the stay safe components that are taking place at your property. And continue to share these things in the way that you respond to online reviews, because that's word of mouth. They're hearing it straight from you. And your social media channels, you're on an outgoing basis promoting what you're doing to make a safe stay at the property. So we are at our wrap up. We're doing well on time here. And again, just want to remind you, if you have any comments or questions, we welcome those. We always like to do a quick takeaway, and we just summarize. There's a lot of data that has come your way. And again, your feedback is greatly appreciated. So looking at these takeaways, the first one is flight data is becoming a useful tool in revenue management. This is really to seize opportunities and capture market share, targeting travelers kind of early in their booking journey. STR forecast indicates, as of now, that the industry demand will recover quicker than ADR. That's recapturing about 70% of the demand by the end of this year, with a hopeful 100% recovery by the end of 2023. But RevPAR is going to have a recovery expected by the end of 2024. Rose talked a lot about corporate transient groups. There's a belief that that's going to grow slightly in Q2 and Q3. It's still lagging behind other segments, and this is really due to that employer travel restrictions. So growth will occur as the vaccine availability increases. OTAs are projected to play a substantial role in the recovery, with projected year-over-year revenue growth through 2023. And again, pulling back a data point from that, travelers are 57% more likely to book via an OTA than before the pandemic. So you can reach future travelers by responding to all of your reviews, all of your surveys. You want to boost that confidence in a safe stay and a positive experience at your hotel. We cannot emphasize that communication piece enough. And do your own research, look into what Tripadvisor is doing with the Crowd Free Me tool, because this is going to enable travelers to identify and avoid crowds in US cities. And again, this could have some impact on what you're communicating, so that you want to get some positive messaging behind what's happening at your property and in the area. So that is it. That is our information for today. And Rose, can you see if there are any questions? I'm not seeing
I was trying, and I cannot for some reason pull it up again. Where the questions do appear.
Yeah, I don't see an
it?
indicator that there's a question here, but you have our contact information. I'm going to put it back up here at the end for Rose M at iResponds, and I'm J Ellis at iResponds. I did have a comment that just came in as, will the presentation deck be available after the meeting?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we are repeating the same webinar next Tuesday. So in case you have co-workers that you want to join, please send them the link. And we will have it on our website, and the deck we could email to you as well. Just let us know. You have our email addresses if you want to receive the deck. If not, it'll also be on our website, as well as a YouTube recording of the webinar itself.
Great.
Any other questions?
I think that's it. And
Okay.
You're right on time. And thank you everyone so much. I hope that the rest of your week goes well and things are looking up for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.